I have a question for you, right now. Not metaphorically, not philosophically, but like actually right now. Are you tired? Not like I ran a marathon tired. I mean, the kind of tired where you wake up, look at your phone, and think, yeah, this day is already too expensive, and that's interesting. Because if you ask people what they're feeling, the number one answer these days isn't sadness. It's not anger. It's not even existential dread about taxes or student loans or whether the world is secretly run by slightly stressed accountants. It's tired, which is weird because being tired feels like a physical state, right? Like you didn't sleep enough. Maybe you need more vitamin D, less gluten, or to drink water that was blessed by a certified mountain monk. But here's the confusing part. Sometimes people sleep 8 hours, eat healthy, exercise, and still feel like life is running on low battery mode. Like they are walking around with chronic fatigue, lethargy, or that mysterious state called wired but tired. So what is tiredness actually? Is it physical? Is it mental? Or is it secretly emotional? Let's start with the uncomfortable answer. Tiredness is not just a lack of energy. Tiredness is a feeling, and feelings are information. We like to divide the world into good emotions and bad emotions. Happiness? Good. Tiredness? Bad. But psychology doesn't really care about your moral classification system. In psychiatry and clinical psychology, emotions are basically your brain sending you internal messages saying, hey, pay attention. Something is happening. Think of emotions like notifications from your biological operating system. You don't have to immediately act on every notification, but if you ignore them completely, something important might eventually break in the background. Even fear is useful. Fear says, don't walk into the dark cave full of unknown evolutionary horrors. It is your survival system trying to keep you alive long enough to reproduce, pay taxes, and argue on the internet about things that do not matter. Anger is also useful. Anger says, someone is crossing your boundary. Someone is exploiting your effort. Someone is trying to make you accept something you don't want. Anger is not violence. Anger is boundary protection software. And then we come to tiredness. Tiredness is interesting because it is not usually discussed as an emotion. People tend to think tiredness belongs only to the body, like muscles getting weak after running or sleep deprivation. But human experience is not that simple because the mind and body are deeply connected through neurobiology of fatigue. Your brain constantly evaluates workload, uncertainty, reward probability, and survival value of tasks. When your brain estimates that something requires a very high energy investment but has a low perceived probability of success, it activates a conservation signal. And that signal feels like tiredness. It is essentially your brain saying, this looks like a lot of work. The future outcome is uncertain. Let's not waste energy. Not because you are lazy, not because you are broken, but because evolution designed the brain to avoid wasting calories on low-return survival strategies. Remember, for most of human history, wasting energy could literally mean starvation. So your ancestors' brains evolved to be extremely efficient at risk prediction. Modern life, however, creates a strange conflict, because today we are constantly asked to do things that require long-term investment. Writing a dissertation, building a career, starting a business, fixing emotional relationships, learning complex skills. These are tasks where progress is slow, reward is delayed, and success probability is difficult for the brain to calculate. Your brain looks at these tasks and says, I don't know if this is going to work. Therefore, I will discourage energy investment, and the discouragement signal is experienced subjectively as lethargy, chronic fatigue, or that strange state where you are physically capable of moving but emotionally feel heavy. Some people describe it as physical heaviness. Others call it mental fog or brain fog. Some people say they are wired but tired. This happens because different parts of the brain are competing. Your arousal systems may still be active, keeping you alert, but motivational systems may be suppressing action. It is a strange internal conflict state. Your body says move, your mind says don't bother, and you are stuck in between like a confused software process. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, this is actually adaptive. In environments where energy resources were limited, it was better to avoid risky, long-duration effort unless success looked reasonably achievable. This is also why humans tend to feel more motivated when tasks are broken into smaller steps. Large abstract goals create cognitive distance. Your brain cannot evaluate progress, so it assumes the task is endless. This is where techniques like introspection and modern therapeutic approaches such as mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, become useful. Because instead of fighting tiredness directly, you investigate it. Ask, what am I avoiding? What part of this task feels wasteful? If I finish this activity, what do I believe will happen afterward? Sometimes your brain will respond, nothing good will happen, so don't try. And sometimes your brain is wrong, because the brain is not a perfect prediction machine. It is a survival prediction machine, not necessarily a happiness optimization machine. Understanding this difference is important, because overcoming tiredness is not always about forcing more energy. Sometimes it is about convincing your brain that the energy investment is not wasted. And when your brain believes progress is possible, the conservation signal weakens. And you may find that the heaviness slowly decreases. Not magically, not instantly, but through small, consistent action. Psychological and emotional drivers. Let's talk about the cognitive side. One of the biggest causes of tiredness is something called cognitive overload. Your brain is running too many background applications, not like Chrome with 50 tabs. More like L thinking about work, L thinking about relationships, L thinking about future failure scenarios, L thinking about what you said 3 years ago at 2 a.m. that nobody remembers except your amygdala. This creates mental fog, also called brain fog. Your brain basically says, too many processes? I'm entering conservation mode. Another big one is decision fatigue. Every decision costs mental energy. Should I reply now or later? Should I be polite or brutally honest? Should I start working or stare at the ceiling and negotiate with existence? Each decision increases mental resistance. So eventually your brain just sends a shutdown signal. It's not laziness. It's emotional regulation trying to protect you from burnout syndrome. Neurobiological drivers, the hardware level. Now let's go deeper into the brain operating system. Your brain has something like a reward economy. It's based on your dopamine baseline. If your reward system is constantly stimulated, social media, fast feedback loops, digital noise, your baseline dopamine sensitivity drops. This is why people talk about dopamine detox, not because dopamine is evil, but because dopamine baseline depletion makes normal life feel boring. Hello, anhedonia, the clinical term for nothing feels interesting anymore. Meanwhile, your stress system might be running at background. High cortisol levels activate the amygdala, which is basically your brain's ancient survival alarm. It keeps saying, something might go wrong. Stay alert. But here is the tragedy. You are not running from a lion. You are sitting in an office, replying to emails. This is called survival mode mismatch. Your brain thinks you are in danger. Your body thinks you are in danger. But the danger is a spreadsheet. Evolutionary psychology, the ancient brain problem. Humans evolved in environments where energy was precious. This is called conservation of energy. If something looked hard and uncertain, the brain would discourage you from wasting calories. Because historically, calories equal survival. This is evolutionary mismatch. Our brain evolved for hunting, gathering, and avoiding saber-toothed cats. Not infinite emails, endless social comparison, digital overexposure, doom scrolling at 2 a.m. Modern society is basically asking, please simulate hunter-gatherer motivation while sitting in a chair for 9 hours. Your brain responds, absolutely not. I will simulate prehistoric nap behavior instead. Digital overstimulation. Welcome to the era of dopamine overstimulation. Constant notification signals create something similar to behavioral addiction loops. You become stimulated but not satisfied, active but not productive, moving but not progressing. This is sometimes called sedentary fatigue. You're not physically doing much, but your brain is processing social, emotional, and informational noise all day. Suppression versus processing. This part is important. Many people feel tired because of emotional suppression. Hiding feelings has an energy cost. Pretending everything is fine requires emotional control, social performance, internal conflict management. That is expensive. Your brain is running silent software in the background called suppressed emotional state maintenance, circadian rhythm, and physiology. Your body also follows a circadian rhythm. Things like sleep timing, light exposure, and hormone cycles affect alertness. When rhythm is misaligned, you get unrefreshing sleep, morning lethargy, physical heaviness, wired but tired state. Homeostasis is basically your body trying to stabilize internal conditions, but modern life keeps pushing it slightly off balance. The Dr. K perspective. Psychiatrist and content educator Dr. Alok Kanodia, known online as Healthy Gamer GG, talks about how fatigue is often motivational and emotional rather than purely biological. What am I avoiding? What task feels like wasted energy? What outcome do I believe is impossible? Because tiredness often appears when your brain estimates high workload, plus low success probability, plus low immediate reward. The hidden function of tiredness. Here is the crazy part. Tiredness is actually a behavioral signal. It is your brain saying, do not invest energy in this activity. Sometimes this is protective, sometimes this is wrong. Because modern tasks are not prehistoric survival tasks. Taxes must be paid, dissertations must be written, phone calls must sometimes be answered. The simple question that changes everything. Next time you feel tired, if I did this task anyway, how would I feel after finishing it? If the answer is, I would feel good. Then your brain might be predicting failure incorrectly. You can break the task into smaller pieces, because the brain is surprisingly okay with one chapter, one workout, one email. Not, fix my entire life today, So, yeah, the next